a typical successful geothermal system is composed of at least 4 components. One is dapat mainit yung lugar na gusto mong may geothermal. Number 2 is dapat yung init na yon ay natatakpan para hindi siya sumisingaw. So we call that a cap. And then 3 is dapat may tubig. So, of course, kailangan mong meron kang nakukuha sa ilalim, and that's through your water or your recharge. Dapat pag nakukuha ka ng tubig, may babalikan din yung tubig mo. And then 4 is permeability. Permeability is basically the ability of your fluid, of your hot fluid, to flow from the surface, from the subsurface to the surface.
Welcome to the Behind the Science podcast, kung saan kakausapin natin ang ating mga scientists para ibahagi hindi lang ang mga resulta ng kanilang pag-aaral, kundi pati na rin ang mga behind the scenes or behind the science stories nito. Ako si Drew, ang host for this week's episode, and today we have our guest, Dr. Lorraine Pastoriza Primaleon. Dr. Primaleon is a licensed and well-published geologist with over 14 years of experience in the geothermal industry as a geologist and recently as a field development planner. She holds a PhD on structural geology with key interest on the deformation history of brittle structures in volcano-hosted geothermal fields and earthquake resilience. Presently, she leads the field development planning of the Tongonan geothermal field. Welcome po sa podcast, ma'am. Hello po.
Hi, Drew. Yung pusa ko sumilip.
Oo nga po. Ano yan? Hinigit na niya yung kumot.
Hi, everyone.
Hello po.
Hi to your fellow listeners. Magandang gabi ba?
Actually. Depende kung anong oras po sila nakikinig ngayon. So, punta na po tayo sa The Young and Curious You. Ano po?
Young pa rin.
When did you realize that you wanted to work in the science sector?
Well, I mean, for me to answer that, Juno, I have to do a long storytelling kasi I didn't really envision myself become a scientist. Like, when I was young, gusto ko talagang I'm medyo inclined talaga ako sa arts. Like, I wanted to become an artista. May ganong level. Mapad ako sa artista, maging lawyer. And then, like, scientist or being in the science industry was never part of my plan. Pero nag-Pisay kasi ako. So, I did my high school in Pisay Central Mindanao campus. And you know the drill, pag Pisay ka, you're required to do a science course. And I didn't really want anything. Like, I wasn't really curious sa any course sa UP. Except that, parang naalala ko, ang tinik ko lang nun nung sa exam was, yung pinakamahirap, of course, yung MBB, tsaka I forgot the second one, pero hindi ako nakapasok kasi masyadong ambitious yung pinili ko. So, wala akong course. I passed with yung degree with available slots. Yung
DPWAS, ganyan.
Yeah, yun, DPWAS.
DPWAS yun.
So, and back then, geology was still unfamiliar and very unpopular. So, namili lang ako sa mga non-quota course, and it was geology kasi hindi ako familiar. So, yun, the plan was, I will shift kasi hindi nga ako talaga magsa-science. Pero nasayangan na ako, and then masyado akong natuwa sa Geo 1, Geo 11 ko na teacher. So shout out kay Ma'am Ramos if you're listening.
Oh, si Ma'am
She
Jenny
inspired
po.
me. Yes. Feeling niya nagloloko ako dyan, pero totoo yan, Ma'am. If you're listening. Totoo talaga yan. Nasayangan ako sa first year ko, and then natuwa talaga ako through her. So I said, I'll continue. And then nagtuloy-tuloy na. Nagtuloy-tuloy na. And then down to the part na nag-PhD na ako na hindi ko din plinano. Pero yeah, here I am. So it was the universe, I would say, who told me to be here. And it wasn't really part of my plan, to be honest, true.
Okay. Ma'am, paano kayo nag-decide daw mag-PhD? Kasi parang, di ba, sobrang hindi yung commitment siya, ganyan.
Parang, siguro, medyo may kwento din yan, no? Lucky lang ako kasi sa EDC. So, I'm with EDC since, like, it's not my first job, pero technically, doon na talaga ako lumaki, no, sa EDC. I'm very fortunate that EDC offers scholarships to its employees.
Ah.
And normally, ang styles ni EDC back then was nakapila ka. Like there's a queue for postgraduates or whatever studies you want to pursue na related sa company or that will benefit the company. And then honestly, hindi din talaga ako balak mag-school. Gusto ko lang kumita, like, have the money. So nung turn ko na, sinabi ko talaga sa boss ko, hindi ayoko mag-aral. Kasi ayoko nga talaga. And then I think na-assign ako sa Chile. And dun sa Chile, I worked with a geologist, a Chilean geologist who was also my age, or at least just a few years older. And then, nakita ko how amazing he was. Like, ang galing niya talaga. And then, of course, Chile is about folded mountains, ang ganda ng mga structures. And then talagang, with just a few seconds na draw na yung mga outcrops, dun ako natuwa. And then, at the same time, na-challenge ako na hala, ang galing niya. So, immediately after that fieldwork, bumalik ako sa Pilipinas. And then I told my boss, like, ako na nag-volunteer. Sir, I want to study. So, parang from someone na hindi interested mag-aral, I think, again, it's always the universe for me. Si universe na nagsabi, feeling ko, ako din mismo ang mag-open for you to want to study. So, yun, I really wanted first, initially, to just apply for a master's. Pero God is good. Nung nag-apply ako sa Durham University in the UK, my professor offered me a PhD instead. So, wala akong master's.
Straight PhD
straight
pala.
PhD, yeah. So, ano yan? I always talk about this as the universe planned everything for me. And then that all stars aligned accordingly lang. Nothing planned, really.
So, ayun. Para sa mga viewers natin, pwede tayong mag-straight PhD. Hindi natin kailangan dumaan ng master's kung gusto mo talaga mag-PhD, di ba? Kung yun naman yung track na gusto mo talagang puntahan, why not?
And it's really about asking the right people siguro. And siguro sa mga viewers nyo din, Drew, meron kasi akong parang I was already, I think, 5 years in the industry. So my professor saw that experience would be sufficient for me to pursue my PhD since industry-specific naman yung gusto kong i-pursue na research. So I think it's really a case-to-case basis and I was just, nakita yun na opportunity ng professor ko and I'm really glad I did. Kaya yun.
Bakit po pala geothermal? I mean, paano kayo pumasok ng EDC? Like, paano nyo pinili? Dito na ako mag-work ganyan.
Well, to be fair, kung sa lamin ng hindi ko plano, working for geothermal or NVI or renewable were my non-negotiables. So, after kung mag-aral ng geo, sabi ko, kung magtatrabaho ako, this will be the fields. So, dahil nga ganun, ang liit naman ng geology na industry, like it's really just mining, oil and gas, NVI, etc. So, medyo naka-eye na ako sa mga gusto kong pasukan. So, luckily, I got into, parang na-offeran ako ng project-based internship na style. Kaya back then, Chevron Geothermal Philippines. And then from there, napunta na ako sa EDC. So, yeah. Kansya, yun naman medyo by choice na. By choice na gusto ko talaga mag-renewable. Yes.
Okay.
Tuloy na. Dito na.
Tuloy na. So, moving on po to your paper. So, this is a paper published in 2020. Pero sabi niyo po ay natapos yung study 2016.
Yes. Kaya hindi ko na maalala.
Ayun. Kaya pa yan, ma'am. Anyway, today we will be featuring your study, Fracture Attribute and Topology Characteristics of a Geothermal Reservoir, Southern Negros, Philippines. So, ma'am, can you explain your paper in one sentence?
One sentence? Parang pwedeng hindi.
Kaya ba?
I'll do my best. Maraming kama. Bitaw. Siguro, in a nutshell, the paper actually sounds a bit complicated, but the essence is really just this one sentence. The paper talks about how fracture systems behave, how fracture systems of a typical crystalline geothermal system behave across different scales. And by scale, I mean magnitude scales from 1 millimeter down to 100 kilometers. So, ganun, I looked into the attributes of the fracture networks across that range of fractures, and looked at how how they behave at one scale and compare them to the other. So it's really about looking at that wide range of a scale. And then the intent there was trying to prove or disprove whether one scale of fractures can actually represent the other. So parang ang gusto kong makita kasi doon is kung meron limited lang ako sa ganitong sizes ng mga fractures, can they be actually representative of the fractures sa ibang scale? For the case of geothermal, ang tinatarget kasi namin ay mga fractures sa ilalim. So, these could be microscale by microscale, I mean, mga microscopic, mga millimeter to centimeter. But the fracture opening can also be as wide as 1 meter. Pero hindi namin nakikita yon at the onset. Normally, as geologists, we will just be mapping yung surface. So, limited lang tayo sa exposures, diba? Pero as geothermalists, we always assume na yung surface natin na fractures ay representative ng mga nakikita natin na tatap natin sa ilalim. So, that was the intent of the study. Looked at fracture systems of the geothermal system across this varying scale, lengths, and widths. Hindi
Yung-
1 sentence, pero nakaya ko na. 1 sentence yung una.
Pwede na yun, ma'am. Ma'am, yung ano po ba, yung fractures na yun, are they fault-related or parang as in deformation lang talaga sila sa lupa? Ganyan.
Yeah. Sorry, hindi ko pa na-explain nga. At least for the study, we assume na all the fractures are secondary permeability related. So for the case na, backtrack muna ako. So when I say fractures, I'm referring to all the cracks and deformation sa lupa and sa mga bato. So for geologists, ito yung mga tinatawag natin na mga faults, mga joints, and then in general, a fracture. Pero sa hindi geologists, basta lahat ng basag-basag sa mga bato. So, for the case of my study, since this was on a crystalline volcano-hosted na geothermal system, our permeability was mostly related to fault systems. So, the assumption there was yung mga nakikita namin na fractures at sinukat were all related to faults, etc. So, part na yun siya ng parang ng biases, especially sa malalaking scale, kasi tumingin din kami sa mga mapa. So, when we looked at mga 100 kilometers na mga faults, may iba doon malamang hindi talaga namin na-verify na fault talaga sila because they were only lineaments na tinignan namin sa mga LiDAR images.
LiDAR po yung ginamit niyo for the analysis.
Dun sa part ng malalaking faults or fractures, we mostly utilize table-based satellite images. So, mga LiDAR, DEMs, digital elevation models na available. And then, habang papalapit at paliit kami ng paliit sa geothermal, we have more access to high-resolution LiDAR hanggang naging outcrop na level, hanggang nagkaroon na kami ng core samples, hanggang nagkaroon ako ng thin sections. So it was really exploiting all available data from table and satellite-based down to microscopic na mga datasets na pwede kong makuha just to have that wide range of sizes ng mga fractures.
Actually, ang ganda. Kasi parang ang kompleto nung study nyo. Kasi, di ba, from satellite image, parang nakapagkuha kayo ng sample. So, parang directed yung sampling nyo.
Yes.
Parang ganun
That was the
yung nangyari.
intent. And in fact, yan yung sort of ride namin sa paper. It's one of the few, at least back then when you published, we had one of the, if not the widest range of data set for a geothermal system.
Oh.
So yung in-apply ko kasi sa study, we called it fracture attribute analysis. This was commonly used in oil and gas. So sa oil and gas kasi yung mga bato natin mas bedded, mas malinaw, mas klaro, compared mo sa mga crystalline mga vulkan. Mas madali sa kanilang mag-image ng mga bato gamit they also had better technology compared to geothermal, even until now. So, they always had better visualizations. They had better seismic profiles. They had better drilling visualization tools versus sa amin na mas na hindi kami high-tech, pero mas mahal lang siguro sa geothermal. Mas mahal yung peso per kilowatt hour, kaya hindi namin masyado pang afford to invest so much on technology. So when I published this paper, there were only a handful of papers doing this. And then the pride then, when we did this, was we had the widest range of data sets na ginawa ng isang fracture attribute analysis. So I don't know what happened, kung meron pa bang more, no? Pero yun yung parang pinakamadaming fractures na nabasa at nasukat. And
hopefully
siguro
meron nga, no?
Kaya nga kasi naman yung gusto natin, diba? Like, people will continuously improve. And siguro sa mga viewers who hindi pa nag-grasp yung fracture attribute analysis, hindi ko lang na-mention, Drew, no? Pero para ma-visualize nyo. So, sa mapa, tumingin kami ng mga fractures, sinusukat bawat length, bawat lapad, orientation. Imagine doing that sa bato. So, pag may outcrop, the minimum distance that we had or length ng transect was mga 30 meters. At ang rule was, susukatin mo along the 30-meter na transect bawat fracture na mababasa mo na makikita. So that whether that's 1 meter, 2 meters, or 1 centimeter, susukatin namin yan. So, isang transect, isang araw. At talagang
bigat.
It was very tedious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm recalling all of that struggle to do that work. Pero having that paper at the end of the day was very fulfilling.
Ano niyo po na-formulate yung research question niyo dun sa paper?
Self-mentioned, Ru, pinadala ko ng company to do the PhD. So, this paper was actually just one of the components of my thesis in Durham. So, the overall, for appreciation, the thesis was really about the development of a structural model of a typical crystalline geothermal system, and unlock the different challenges na structural modeling in general. So, for our viewers then na hindi masyado pang familiar ng geothermal. So, we have parang a typical successful geothermal system is composed of at least 4 components. One is dapat mainit yung lugar na gusto mong may geothermal. Number 2 is dapat yung init na yon ay nakatakpan para hindi siya sumisingaw. So we call that a caprock. And then 3 is dapat may tubig. So, of course, kailangan mong meron kang nakukuha sa ilalim, and that's through your water or your recharge. Dapat nakukuha ka ng tubig, may babalikan din yung tubig mo. And then 4 is permeability. Permeability is basically the ability of your hot fluid to flow from the subsurface to the surface. So, dyan na pumapasok yung structural geology. So, for the case of volcano-hosted geothermal systems, this permeability comes from faults and fractures. So, when I started in the industry, dahil medyo fascinated din naman na ako talaga from the get-go ng mga fault systems. I noticed na isa sa struggle namin was mapping these fault systems and then assuming whether these fault systems are the same sa ilalim. So, we map fracture sa surface and then magdidrill ka, then you assume na those fracture systems will be the same sa ilalim. So, and again, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, unlike kay oil and gas, the visualization technology for geothermal systems back then is really behind. So, sa oil and gas, ang gaganda ng mga seismic profiles nila. Yeah. They have really access to so much technology. So, unlike sa amin na mas limited kami sa surface, sa mga outcrops lang. So, the challenge that my boss gave me was, how can we maximize your surface data such that as we continue developing the field, we continue to de-risk. Meaning, nababawasan yung risk natin once we start drilling. Kasi we get more data, pero wala ka pang subsurface information. So, that was the challenge given to me. So, with that in mind, I wanted really to address a specific concern for the company or for the industry in general. We wanted to develop a methodology that would make surface data very maximized and then come up with a methodology that just by using those at the start, you continue to de-risk yung development mo ng geothermal as you continuously to improve your structural model along the process. So one of the components there was developing the structural model. Second was applying different tools na readily available sa oil and gas but not yet explored in geothermal. And topology and fracture attribute analysis was one of them. So, isa yun sa mga in-apply namin, and let's see whether this can really be useful in the geothermal system or in the geothermal industry. And then, yeah, good thing nakita naman namin
Yes.
na nagagamit naman pala, and then we had good conclusions. So yeah. So that was the drive. So it was really about trying to solve specific problems in the geothermal industry back then.
So, speaking po of your conclusions, ano po yung mga findings yun? Like, was it effective in, parang, ano ba siya, correlated ba yung mga subsurface and yung surface fractures na nakita nyo?
Yep.
Parang ganun.
Short answer, yes. So, parang the bottom line, amongst all of the surveys that we did, the bottom line was the surface fractures did show good coherence with the subsurface. And that proved some confidence on our end na we can continue using this methodology as we move forward. One thing though that we saw was that so when I talked about surface there, outcrop versus micro, no, and subsurface. Pero when we look at the large scale, yung mga LiDAR na mga based on LiDAR images, we saw some disparity. So yun na yung mga isa sa mga pinag namin sa work, whether it could be something bias or it could also be because meron tayong mga effect ng iba na yung mga pato doon sa ibang lugar sa vulkan. So we had those theories that probably could explain bakit nag-iiba yung behavior ng mga fracture systems doon sa mas malalaki or mga larger scales namin ng mga samples. But at the very least, sa outcrop down to the meso or the micro scale, they were behaving very similar. And if I were just to use, they were behaving following a power scale. Parang, I don't know if you're familiar with fractal na term, Drew, no? I think it's the parang easiest term na I can use. Parang yung fractal kasi, di ba, kung ganito yung itsura ng ganito kalaki, ganyan din yung itsura niya hanggang paliit ng paliit. Pero ganyan pa rin yung proportion niya. So, at certain levels dun sa survey namin, they were behaving like fractals.
So, parang siyang, tao po ba? Parang siyang embudo? Or yung,
parang siyang ganun.
Parang ganun.
Parang, ano nga ba yung, merong, nalimutan ko ng gulay yun na ganun ang itsura niya, tapos pag iikutin mo, ganun pa rin, kahit paliit ng paliit, ganun pa rin yung itsura niya. Yun nga lang, nag-iba lang yung size or yung dimension. So, yeah. So, that's cool the core conclusion that you were able to confirm. And then, similarly, barely I mentioned din yung topology. Topology is yung paano nag-connect yung mga fractures. Kung parang ito isolated, pag ito nagdugtong, we call it as a Y node, no? Or parang ito T node, tapos yan Y node. So we also looked at that, and then we saw na sa geothermal system, for them to be very permeable, mas madami yung Y nodes nila and X nodes. So that's also discussed in the paper. So showing na kung tumitingin ka ng successful geothermal system, we would want na yung mga fractures mo ay ganun ka-connected. Hindi, ayaw mo na mga independent or mga I nodes sila. So, yeah.
Kasi parang yung tubig, paano siya lalabas kung hindi connected yung passage? Parang ganun din.
Exactly, yes. So dun, Drew, makikita mo may mga plots ako na medyo funded. Mga few workers din kami on utilizing some of the tools on how this can be represented in a diagram. So they can check that paper. Na parang, madali nga palang intindihan yung pag ternary mo siya i-plot. Na hindi mo ma-expect na pwede palang i-represent ang fracture in a ternary diagram. May mga ganun kami in a realization.
Oh my gosh.
Akala nyo, geochem lang yan?
Akala ko nga parang mga bato lang yun, mga lepidol, mga ganun. Charot, nakalimutan na.
For fractures, pwede pala, di ba?
Oo.
Structures, pwede din.
Yung funding nyo po, bale, parang project nga po kayo pumasok, no? So, it was from your supervisor. Tama po ba? Yung
No,
sa
it
funding.
was from my company. So,
Okay.
so as I mentioned, si employer ko EDC,
Sila
back
na rin
then,
po
no, they
pala.
were they were very generous. So parang hanap ka ng school and then we'll take care of you. Ganon yung peg. Ganon ang
Wow.
ang generosity nila noon. So yeah, so I was really lucky na ganon pa yung sistema when I did this study. So I had money with me, care of my company, at dala-dala ko yun. So pinag-aagawan ang peg. Na tipong, oh, dito ka kasi, I mean, I had the money. So compared to other scholars, they had to look for their funding. I had a much easier way of doing my studies kasi meron akong employer who had the money to fund whatever I wanted to study. So, madali ang buhay.
Okay.
In short. Wait lang.
Ang saya naman. Ang saya pala. Pero, kumusta naman po? While doing the research, did you experience any challenges, ganyan? And if meron, ano po yung mga challenges na yun? Parang ganyan.
Parang, ang nakwento ko lang is yung masayang part na may pera ako.
Oo
Pero
nga
hindi ko
po.
nasabi. Hindi ko nasabi na very strict yung kontrata ko. So, I was hindi naman forced, no? Pero, our contract was clearly stated na I should finish it in 3 years.
Yeah.
So,
3 years talaga. So,
3
bawal
years
mag-extend.
exact.
Ganyan.
Bawal
Oh my
mag-extend.
gosh.
So, parang kung mag-extend ka din sa kontrata. Parang ganun siya. So, we all know that doing a PhD is not really a walk in the park. So, talagang stretch ko na matapos siya ng eksaktong 3 years. So, that was probably one of the most challenging, making sure that I finish on time. Like, mga batchmates ko sa UK noon, like, first year pa lang, medyo chill pa sila kasi first year pa lang Ako, first year pa lang, kailangan ko ng marami na akong magawa kasi dapat second year nag-fieldwork na ako, third year nagsusulat na lang ako. So, my commitment and my work program was very clear nung pumasok ako sa university. So yeah, that was really one of the challenges. Pero outside of that, it was more of a very fun na experience naman. No, I mean, it was really a fun experience doing that 3 years study sa UK.
Hindi po ba kayo na homesick, mga ganyan, habang nasa UK? Kasi iba yung food nila dun di ba?
Siguro, a bit lang. Pero, one of the bright side of having a clear timeline was I was also very determined na ma-maximize ko yung 3 years ko. So, what I mean there is that aware akong uuwi ako by this date. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng gusto kong gagawin ko na. So,
okay.
I'm not kidding. Every weekend, namamasyal ako. Like, I would go to Paris for a weekend. I would go to Italy for a weekend. Kasi I wanted to make sure na uuwi ako ng December 2016. Kailangan nagawa ko na lahat ng gusto kong gawin. So, that was the fun part of it. Like, I really maximized my stay in the UK for those 3 years. So, dala-dala ko yung iPad ko, nag-keyboard, so nagsusulat ako habang like, I'm not kidding, like, nasa aeroplano, nagsusulat akong thesis kasi gusto kong mag-Latvia, yung mga gano'n na kahit saan na, basta ma-maximize ko yung experience ko for 3 years. And, and then I'm proud to say, nasa 3 years na yun, like, really, ang dami kong na-check sa bucket list ko. So, maganda din na may timeline kasi alam mong no turning back po. So, I had to do everything, my best all the time. Parang gano'n.
Parang sa'yo pala kasi parang wala kayong lull time. Parang tas parang pag mamamasyal kayo, nag-work pa rin kayo, ganyan. Sobrang productive.
Kailangan maging productive.
Oo.
Ipong hinahanap na ako ng professor ko. Where is Lorraine? Namamasyal po, pero don't worry, I will do this, whatever. And yeah, and I really had to comply kasi I had to satisfy both my supervisors, my professor, and my boss sa Philippines. Yeah. So, the pressure was a lot. Pero sabi ko, hindi ko kayo hayaang sirain ang UK journey ko. Magmamasyal ako. So, namasyal ako.
Nandun na rin naman kayo parang ganun, di ba? So,
and then I really had a lot of friends. Yeah. Like, I stayed in a dormitory. Parang, it's a multinational na flat. I had 6 roommates and then multinational lahat. Like, we were all international students. So, yeah, I maximized having friends, and then sa tanong mo kung bakit yung pagkain, nagluto kami every time we have potluck na represent your country ang peg. So, masaya.
wow.
And that's what actually made me love cooking more nung nagstay ako doon kasi I got to really enjoy and talk more about food, Filipino food, at the same time learn from other cultures na mga pagkain din nila.
And may na-discover pa kayong hobby
Yes.
habang nandun. Balik po tayo dun sa paper ulit.
Oh, yes.
At what point po did you realize that your results were sufficient para i-publish?
Yep. As I've mentioned, Drew, this was part of a bigger study. No? And then, ang criteria naman talaga ng PhD is something novel. So, from the very beginning, alam na namin kung anong bago dito. So, yun yung naging drive namin. And also, I have to mention, ang medyo difference pala ng PhD journey ko was many students, even nowadays, they would write and then immediately publish. Sa case ko kasi, it was complete the thesis, will publish later. So, ganun yung medyo pagkakaiba. So, and it was primarily because strict nga yung timeline ko. I only had 3 years. So, if I will be writing in between for publications, madidelay yung 3 years. So, that's why that explains also bakit 2018 yung isa kong paper, 2020 yung pangalawa. Kasi, tinapos ko muna yung thesis, graduate muna ako. So, ayun. So more of, it was really a matter of satisfying my professor para ipasa nila ako sa PhD ko. And then when they passed me, alam ko nang pwede na itong i-publish. Kasi requirement naman nila na dapat may novel component yung thesis. Unlike pagbaliktad kasi, parang susulat ka, then individually i-evaluate nila. But this one, it was more of the entire work. Kung pumasa ka sa PhD mo, then nangyari na nun was we took out different components of the study and then we deliberated with my professors. Alin dito yung one paper, alin dito yung second paper, and then one paper focused, my first publication focused on the structural model of Southern Negros, which was actually the very foundation of my second paper. So, yung mga fracture systems na dinidiscuss ko sa paper na to that we're talking about now are all referring to my first paper. So, there I talked about changing deformation histories in Southern Negros, mga different ages na mga fracture systems, and then individually yung tinignan namin and how these different fracture systems in detail behave using the methods that I utilized in this second paper. So parang if you look at it, if nabasa mo yung dalawa, for example, medyo bubuo yung kwento.
Yeah.
Kasi, okay, this is how they connect pala.
Actually, baka kailangan ko nga mag-backtrack. Basahin ko yung isa pa na
Wag na.
paper.
Only pag busy ka.
May plans po ba kayo moving forward with the research? Like, gusto niyo po ba siyang gawin sa other areas or i-improve pa po yung method?
Unfortunately, the big unfortunately is now I no longer function as a geologist in EDC. So, as you mentioned earlier, I'm now a planner. So, much less technical. Well, I'm still technical, but no longer geology specific yung task ko. So, unfortunately, I no longer do this kind of very highly technical work. However, before I moved to this position, I was fortunate na kahit papano I got to share my knowledge to my young colleagues back then. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I had to make sure na lahat ng mga methods na in-apply ko, they were learned by my younger colleagues na naiwan ko sa geosciences. And fortunately, from that work, from my PhD alone, maraming nagbunga. So there have been significant improvements in the processes, on how we collect data, on how we analyze data, which was really the core naman of my thesis, which was really to improve the process ng ginagawa namin, not just for the company, but for the industry in general. So with that, unfortunately right now, my position doesn't really allow me to focus on this part of my on my PhD. But kung may wish list ako, I would really want to at least do a fracture model using yung assumptions na nagamit ko sa thesis ko. So, siguro for appreciation lang din. mas modeling kasi
Modeling.
ang dami ko nang ginawang fieldwork eh. So, isa sa mga vision ko sana na nasa next step was, now ang dami ko ng field data, ang dami ko ng assumptions and attributes from my fracture systems. Can I replicate this into a model and then pasukan ng flow model mismo, and utilize this in one of our actual flow modeling sa process namin. Hindi lang ako umabot doon, pero that's one of my wish list na sana magawa ko pa rin in the future. Para naman mabuo ko yung kwento. Kasi, yung
actually,
kulang
hopefully, kasi,
yeah.
di ba ngayon, parang sobrang uso ng AI, machine learning, so more of ganun na yung ginagawa ng mga methods. Well, based sa mga nababasa ko, parang ang daming machine learning na models, ganyan, di ba? Mga pagtitrain ng models.
Yeah.
So, meron po ba kayong may advice sa ating aspiring young researchers? Or yung mga nasa high school pa lang, gusto mag-science, ganyan?
Huwag niyong planuhin. Charot, joke lang. Seryoso. I mean, siguro I'm serious in part there, no? Na minsan, we all have our own desires, but sometimes I'm a strong believer that things happen for a reason. So, if things don't go well according to your plan, wait, and then just wait and see. Because something better might be waiting for you. And I think that what happened to me, no? That yun yung nangyari sa akin. I really wanted to be someone else, become someone else. But yeah, I mean, experience and then eventually opened me to new things. And then yeah, so parang yun siguro number one. Don't constrain yourself to the dream that you have now, and don't stress if they don't follow. It could just be an obstacle, pwedeng park lang muna yun siya, or pwede din something else might be waiting for you. And then siguro second, something new siguro na I got quite often, parang I've been invited quite often na din sa mga career talk, and then I always get this question na, porket nasa industry pa daw, hindi na makakagawa ng research work. So, I think yun din kasi yung unique sa life ko na parang I was able to do a highly research work whilst being in the industry. And siguro parang yun yung siguro kung gusto ko sa mga part sa mga young ones who are still deliberating na mag-academe ako or mag-industry. So, you can do both. Kaya both. Kaya both. I think it's really just a matter of looking for that company who will hone you and will give you that space to grow. And I'm just lucky I found my space. And then, siguro, now that I'm doing no longer geology specifically, no, I still get opportunities and I still maximize opportunities na pwede akong gumawa ng mga research. So, pag may mga problema kami, for example, sa field na kailangan ng tubig, mag-iisip ako ng study niya. Parang, bahala na basta gagawa ako ng research work. So something like that, like small bits and pieces of scientific research will really continually help you with your questions and your curiosity. So, yun. So, sa mga nasa industry niyan, baka yun lang yung kailangan nyo din i-explore. What are the top opportunities na hindi nyo pa na-check dyan for you to become, or for you to hone more your scientific knowledge, kumbaga, and the tools that you haven't utilized yet. So, yeah. So, dalawang questions, mga bagets, and sa mga nasa industry niya.
Actually, ang ganda nga po kung yung mga research work din ng mga nasa industry. Kasi at least nandun na sila. Tapos parang sa lens nila, kasi kailangan din naman nila yung methods na ma-develop nila if ever, na specific for what they're doing. So, ayun. Kung mga taga-industry.
Yes. And Drew, I haven't mentioned to you, no? I actually sit with the board of trustees sa National Geothermal Association of the Philippines. So, I'm one of the youngest board members there. pero I think one of my vision also was to really integrate the academe and the industry as well. Yeah. So that's one thing now we want to pursue in the next few years as part of the board, na mas maging makita natin yung mingling ng dalawang grupo. Kasi minsan the academe tend to become just very academic. Minsan then the industry just tend to be very industry specific lang. So there are so many collaboration that can happen. So hopefully sa geothermal industry we can do more of that collaboration. So we're already there, but we need more collaboration. So kasi masaya masayang mag-explore ng
Yes.
bagong tools, and then with the enthusiastic minds of our academicians, mas madaling matutulungan ng industry natin kung ano man yung problema na nadadaanan namin sa geothermal. So yeah.
So to end the interview, do you have anything to
Hindi
promote,
pa lang.
ma'am?
Ayaw mo, pinag-isipan ko to. Ano ba pwedeng i-promote? Well, ano ba i-promote ko? Ayun, siguro one is that I've mentioned I'm part of the National Geothermal Association of the Philippines. So watch out for our activities. We have quite a few. We have the Philippine International Geothermal Conference coming again in September. So watch out for details. So last year, we had quite a good number of participants. So yeah, watch out for activities. And then second, on a personal note, I mentioned Drew kanina, no, na I love cooking thanks to my UK experience.
Yes.
I actually have I have an Instagram account called Dr. Chef's
Wow.
Lab. So Dr. Chef's because doctor daw ako pero chef talaga. And the kitchen is my laboratory. So yun yung I'm a
Wow.
drug doctor but my kitchen is my laboratory. Yun yung tagline ko. So check my Instagram account and you will see how I cook and how I spend my free time. So yun lang. 100 pa lang yung followers ko pa. Increase naman po.
Follow niyo si ma'am. Charot.
Follow
So mga
niyo po.
viewers, i-follow si ma'am. Charot.
Yes.
Yun. So, ayun
And
po.
there, yun.
That ends our interview. Maraming salamat,
Ano,
ma'am.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.